Welcome to class. So, on today's edition of our class, we'll be taking some thoughts on authentic leadership. Now, this is a new approach to understanding the subject of leadership. It focuses principally on the attitude, the behavior of the leader. Now, authentic leadership is from the word authentic, it would mean for the leadership to be genuine, it would mean for the leadership to be true, it would mean for the leadership to be trustworthy, nothing fake about this leadership perspective. But just before I go deeper into revealing what authentic leadership really means, I'd like to mention two things. Now, the first is that authentic leadership doesn't mean ideal leadership. Now, for the purposes of this lecture, I want you to understand ideal leadership to mean perfect leadership. Ideal leadership to mean the summum bonum, so to speak, of leadership. Ideal leadership to mean a leadership that has everything right and everything correct. Ideal leadership to also be synonymous with hero leadership. Now, authentic leadership is not hero leadership. Now, it doesn't claim to know everything. It doesn't claim to be perfect. And it doesn't claim that everything about the leader and, of course, his leadership is right. Now, that is one. Now, on the other hand, too, I must mention that authentic leadership, when we say it means genuineness of leadership or the leader, or that the leader is true to himself, it doesn't also mean that the leader is raw and haphazardly true to himself. Now, what we mean by that is that if a leader were supposed to be a drunkard, if a leader were supposed to lack certain competencies, and the leader shows up on the scene and says, that's just who I am. If a leader were to be bereft on the subject of empathy or emotional intelligence, and he just shows up on the leadership scene and says, that's who I am. Now, that is not authentic leadership. Now, I had to emphasize that because whereas that leader may be true to himself, it doesn't mean that he is authentic within the context of authentic leadership that we're discussing today. Now, authentic leadership is properly situated somewhere in the middle. He is true to himself, but he realizes that sometimes the truthfulness to self may not promote or advance the cause of the organization or his followers. So an authentic leader permanently and persistently gravitates in the direction of ideal leadership. He is not perfect, but he works towards perfection. He doesn't have everything fixed, but he works towards ensuring that everything is fixed. Now, the goal of the authentic leader, for instance, is that while he may not be a 10 over 10 on the subject of leadership, he aspires to ensure that he creates a 10 over 10 team. So at the end of the day, being authentic, being real, being genuine is intended to ensure that the leader relates with the followers and with the organization in a way that ensures the full optimization of the potentials of the team and, of course, the objectives of the organization. Now, authentic leadership principally evolves around four major principles. Now, the first principle of authentic leadership is that the leader is self-aware. So self-awareness therefore becomes the first principle of authentic leadership. Now, self-awareness dates back to Socrates when he says in one of his most popular postulations, he says, man, know thyself, for an unexamined life is not worth living. What is self-awareness? Now, what this simply means is that for you to be an authentic leader, you must know yourself. You must know your competencies. You must know your character flaws and character advantages. You must know what you are good at and you must know what you are not good at. And now a self-aware leader is a leader that has the potentials to be authentic. Because if you do not know yourself, then authenticity is very far from you. But it doesn't stop at being self-aware. Authentic leadership moves a step forward from being self-aware to acknowledging the truth about himself and walking in the direction that would ensure that the self that he knows doesn't work contrary to the interests of the people he is leading or the organization he is leading. So, dear leader, are you self-aware? Do you know yourself? Now, an authentic leader would take occasional self-appraisal. He must sit to ask himself, what am I good at? What do I not know how to do? On which aspect of leadership is a problem to me? Can I manage relationships effectively? Am I good in this skill? Am I good here and there? Now, you cannot be an authentic leader unless and until you know yourself. So do you know yourself? Now, the second element of authentic leadership is what has been titled balanced processing. Now, what is balanced processing? Principally, this ingredient of authentic leadership simply goes to say that a leader must not only consider himself in taking decisions. A leader must take a balanced approach to taking decisions for the organization and for his followers. Now, this element of authentic leadership brings in the concept of action-centered leadership as taught and postulated by John Adey, which principally says that an effective leader must consider the interest of the team, the interest of the individual members of the team, and of course the interest of the task of the organization before he takes decisions. Now, beyond that is that balanced processing also says that the leader should consider his interest, the interest of his followers, before he proceeds to do any particular thing. Now, the authentic leader is interested in the opinion of others about his decisions, whether for himself, about the decisions of for the followers, and of course about his decisions for the organization. Now, that is to say, for instance, that an authentic leader will not buy a car for a follower without finding out from the follower whether what he needs at that material time is a car, because the needs of individual members of a team are peculiar to the members of the team. So he takes a balanced processing. He asks for opinion and tries to adjust his actions in the direction of the opinion that he has gotten. Now, the third element of authentic leadership is what has been called transparency. Rational transparency in some learnings. Rational transparency. Rational transparency. Now, when you are authentic, authenticity doesn't begin and end with the leader. Authenticity expects the leader to be open, to say the truth to his followers, to say the truth to the organization, to be able to admit what he can do and what he cannot do, to be able to admit what he can handle and what he cannot handle. But he mustn't only admit to himself. He must move a step further to also admit to those working with him and also admit to even the organization that have employed him. You know, sometimes some people in their CV will write things that they can do and also write things that they cannot do. Authentic leadership expects, as it were, that you're supposed to be able to be transparent about your competencies, transparent about your character, transparent about your values. Now, what is one of the benefits of being transparent in leadership? Now, what it does is that when a leader is open, both about his competencies and about his flaws, he gives room to the followers to also express themselves in that manner. So when he says, I cannot handle this, he gives room to somebody to say, I can handle that. Now, in the end, or at the end of the day, what happens is that there is room for the other followers to express their innovative abilities, their ingenuity, and at the end, the team is better for it. And the last element of authentic leadership is what we call internalized morality. Internalized morality. Now, what this simply means is that the authentic leader has a code of values. What is right? What is wrong? What is right for the organization? What is wrong for the organization? What is right for my followers? And what is wrong for my followers? Now, remember that, as we had said, it is not enough to be true to self, whereas that would sound like what it means to be authentic. But then being true to self within the context of what we're teaching is that you are true to self to the extent that it promotes the objectives of the organization, of course, the people that you're also leading. So you cannot say, that is just how I am, when in fact, how you are is antithetical to the growth of the organization. So an authentic leader has a set of moral principles. He knows what is right, he knows what is wrong, and he adheres to what is right. Dearest beloved and learners, I like to ask, are you an authentic leader? Are you true to self? Are you true to your followers? Are you true to your organization? Are you self-aware? Are you balanced in processing and taking decisions? Are you transparent? Do people know you? Do you know people? Or you're a closed-stop book that when somebody comes to realize a part of you, they are surprised? And of course, do you have a set of morality that binds your conduct? Now, this is it for authentic leadership. For more insights and then, of course, for a detailed learning on authentic leadership, we advise you to subscribe to the More Leadership Academy website and register for our course on authentic leadership, www.moreleadershipacademy.com.ng. See you in our physical class. Thank you.